amidst the rolling plains of Kansas, where the horizon stretched unbroken and the stars seemed close enough to pluck from the sky. A man named Roy Matheson lived a quiet life in his modest farmhouse. A retired radio technician, Roy spent his evenings tinkering with old receivers in his garage, listening to the faint whispers of the ether. One evening, as the wind carried the scent of rain, Roy's vintage shortwave radio crackled to life with a peculiar sound. It wasn't static, nor was it the garbled chatter of distant broadcasts. It was rhythmic, a pulsing tone that seemed to ebb and flow, almost like a heartbeat. Intrigued, Roy adjusted the dials, isolating the signal. He jotted down its frequency, noting how it fluctuated ever so slightly. It wasn't any format he recognized. The pulse had an almost hypnotic quality, drawing him closer with each repetition. The signal grew stronger over the next week. Roy noticed it was clearest at exactly 2:14 a.m., fading into obscurity minutes later. Unable to resist the lure of the mystery, he began staying up each night, logging every detail. As he listened, patterns emerged. Longer pulses, shorter bursts. Eventually, he realized it wasn't just random noise. It was a code. Deciphering it consumed him. He dug out his old cryptography books, poring over the sequences. Days turned into weeks, and Roy became a hermit, blind to the world outside. The code unraveled into fragments of language, unfamiliar symbols that seemed like ancient hieroglyphs, yet strangely modern. Then came the moment when he translated his first clear message. "We are waiting." Waiting for what? Roy wondered. Was it a distress call? A warning? He tried responding, constructing his own sequences and broadcasting them back into the void. He waited night after night, but no reply came, until the 37th night. At 2:14 a.m., the signal changed. The tone deepened, vibrating through the air like a distant hum of an immense machine. This time, the message was unmistakable. Coordinates. You must come. Below the text was a string of numbers. Latitude and longitude. Roy punched the coordinates into his computer. The location was deep in the Nebraska wilderness, miles from any road or settlement. Against better judgment, he packed his truck and left before sunrise. The journey was uneventful at first, with miles of empty highway and fields of swaying corn. But as Roy neared the coordinates, a dense fog enveloped the road. His GPS flickered, the voice directions growing distorted before cutting out entirely. Still, he pressed on, following his instinct. Finally, he arrived. The site was an unremarkable clearing, the ground bare and the air heavy with silence. Roy turned off the engine and stepped out. That's when he saw it. A structure, shimmering faintly in the fog. It wasn't made of metal or stone but seemed woven from threads of light, shifting and pulsating in rhythm with the signal he had been tracking. Compelled by something he couldn't explain, Roy approached. As he touched the structure, the world dissolved around him. He awoke in darkness, floating in a void. Stars flickered in the distance, but they weren't stars. Each was a point in a vast network, connected by glowing strands. Roy felt weightless, yet he could move, propelled by an unseen force. A voice, not heard but felt, echoed in his mind. You are chosen. You are the bridge. The strands of light surged toward him, wrapping around his body. Roy's mind expanded, filled with knowledge not his own. Histories of civilizations, technologies beyond comprehension, and a purpose that both terrified and exhilarated him. When Roy opened his eyes, he was back in his garage. The signal was gone, and the radio was silent. Days passed, then weeks, but life returned to its quiet normalcy. At least, it seemed so to others. But every night, Roy gazed at the stars, his eyes glowing faintly with the light of a network only he could see. And every night, the signal whispered to him from the farthest reaches of space, reminding him that the bridge had only just been built.